Hey there, and welcome to my guide on how to install my new mod called Hyspeech, how to use it. First, we're going to go ahead and download from Modtail. Find that there on Modtail. I don't, I don't know why I repeat that. I'm going to assume that you've already set up a server and that you know how to install mods. As this is mainly for server developers and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and go into the directory that we're going to store the mods at, and we're going to save that there. Right there. And so what we're going to go ahead and do is I've got the server running right now. Since it's already running, probably close it. Then I'm going to go ahead and go into the server and run it. That way the mod is initialized. And then once it's done, all loaded up and everything, I'm gonna go ahead and go into the server itself. So this is the first time I've generated the world, and I haven't made my character an operator yet. So I'm gonna do that now. So I'm gonna go ahead and do op oh op add have some issue op add Arav, and that's made me moderator. Okay, I somehow I'm already an operator. So now that I am now an operator, I'm gonna press O to switch over to creative, and that just makes it a little easier, and also gives you access to the creative tools. From here, we're gonna go ahead and do a command called Hyspeech setup. So what that's going to do is it's going to generate a demo pack that you can use here. It won't actually introduce the content, I don't believe, immediately. So if I go ahead and go in, let's so spawn entity, if I go in here, see, does it generate everything? No. Okay, so Hans is the demo character. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out the server. Then I'm going to run the server again. And then after it's done setting it up, I'm going to reconnect. All right, and just to be a little bit more prepared, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the folder here. I'm going to go into this Hyspeech folder, which is not the one with the underscore. Go in the one here, right click, and I'm going to open with code. You might not have that. If you don't have that, then that's fine. It just makes it a little easier for me to do. Um, so one of the things that I like to do is I like to use localization, and localization basically allows you to translate uh into various different language. By default, it starts with the English language, and you can find that here in server/languages. And then inside languages is going to be another folder, and for this example, it's en-us, which is capitalized, and then the file name is hyspeech.lang, and it has some already predefined dialogue that you can start with. So now I'm going to reconnect. To start with, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spawn in the Hans entity, or NPC for that matter. Oh, and as you can see, if you're in creative mode, you can't actually interact with him. So we're gonna go back into adventure mode, and we're gonna look at him, press F to talk to him. It gives you a little bit of sample of the dialogue, and this is called a normal. This is just a normal dialogue, and then this one here is a choice select dialogue. Um, you can branch it out a lot. It just depends on how you want to go about naming the various dialogues in the asset editor. So, for example, uh, if I asked Hans, "Can you tell me how long I've been here?" He's gonna tell me some information. Now, it's not actually configured currently to tell you the days and hours and minutes yet, but the plugin does feature uh, parameters, and parameters are what lets you put dialogue mentioning people's names and other stuff like that. And if I go in here to the Hyspeech lang file, you'll see what a parameter is right there. So the parameter username, and it's quoted in these things here, these curly brackets, um, that basically tells the translation layer or the localization layer that uh, that should be converted to the player's username. And so it also is used in the name variable as well. So now we're going to go ahead and show you how to create a new NPC. Uh, that's just going to be useful for one reason, and we're going to show you how to begin a dialogue from the new NPC. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to go into the asset editor. So it pops up this here. I want to make sure to go into this this here um, asset pack, I believe it's called. And we're gonna go down into here, model asset and vulnerable Hans. This right here is just the physical appearance of the NPC. You don't need to do anything with that. You can if you want, but here is what the NPCs look like. If you notice, you can't actually use the editor to create a new NPC. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but that's something to keep. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go to Hans. I'm gonna right click Hans. I'm gonna duplicate, and I'm gonna keep it in that same folder, and I'm gonna give him a different name. I'm gonna go with Rolled. And if you didn't know, Rolled and Hans is actually characters from a game that I love to play. It's called Old School RuneScape. So I'm going to go ahead and create that character here. And so what I'm going to go do is I'm going to go down all the way down here. And we're going to look in the actions. And one of the actions here is called type Hyspeech begin dialogue. And so that's basically an action telling you or telling the server that when the player presses F on the NPC to talk to them, they'll be able to begin the dialogue specified here under this asset here, Hans dialogue one. So for example, if an NPC didn't have this field at all, it might look like this. And so what I would do is I would just go ahead and add this whole bracket and other stuff in here, and kind of just clean that up to make it look nice. So this dialogue here is a default dialogue. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna clear that for now. We're just gonna put test 0, 1, and we're going to apply the changes. And actually, what I'm gonna need to do is I'm actually gonna need to go back in here, and every asset ID has to start with the capitalized letter. So I'm just gonna capitalize that T there. And so as you can see, the Hyspeech actually has its own asset, and it's called Hyspeech Dialog Asset. And it's actually quite easy to set up. If you didn't use the demo pack, you're going to need to go into the folder here, go into server, and then you're going to need to create this folder here called Hyspeech Dialog, and it needs to look exactly like that. And that basically allows you to create assets that'll be saved into that folder. Now, if you didn't have that folder, the asset editor for some reason doesn't realize that you're trying to put it in that folder. And so it just causes some errors. And that works the same way with pretty much every other asset when you're modding Hytale. So we're going to go here and we're going to press this plus button here. And we're going to click asset type and we're going to type in Hyspeech dialog asset. And it kind of auto completes to an extent. Go ahead, click that. Now you could technically change the folder, and it always is going to be within the root folder of this folder. So anytime you create a folder here, it's going to create a folder within this folder here. For now, we're just gonna click select, and it's gonna be empty. And now we're gonna name it test 01. We're gonna create that. For some reason, it's already in the source mode, so we're gonna go back to the editor mode. And so there's a lot of stuff here. Tags is currently not used. Parent isn't used. Comment isn't used. The things that are used currently is entries and next. And next is going to be used in this one will only be used if I don't have a multi-select dialog. Because multi-choice dialogues, for example, they have their own next variable, and that allows them to determine which dialogue they should go to next. And so I'll show you that now. But what I'm gonna first do is I'm gonna put I'm gonna put test02 in this one. And the reason why I'm gonna do that is because the introductory is always going to be like a one dialogue or a normal dialogue. It's not going to be a multi-choice select option. I mean, you could technically go straight into a multi-choice select option, whatever you want to. I know it's a mouthful, but for role play, say it's probably better to start with a dialogue, uh, just to make it feel a bit more immersive. So we're gonna open up the entries here. We're gonna click this one here. And it's going to tell you that it failed to decode the asset. Don't worry about that right now. Basically, what that's going to say, what it's trying to say is that content in this entry cannot be empty. Now, what you could do is you could just simply put a space, and that fills the content. And then you're also going to have here what's next. Oh, you know what? Type is also used. I am totally I don't know why I didn't think about that. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna specify a type. That there's choice 2, 3, and 4. Uh that means that there's in choice 2, that means there's 2 choices that you can select. Choice 3 is there's 3 choices, and choice 4 is there's 4. It's the same with the dialogue. It's just you want to follow that semantic. Unset simply isn't really used. It might actually cause some issues if you don't set it. It might not even open up the dialogue anyway. So for what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna first use dialogue 1, and then I'm gonna go back and create the entry. I don't know why I did that. And so I could, if I wanted to, I could be like, hello world, you know. And so what that would do is if I go ahead and do this, let's go ahead, export that, uh, even export the other one, rolled. Let's export that. And let's go back to Hytale. And we're gonna go ahead and go in here. We're gonna spawn the entity, rolled. There we go. And it's gonna look exactly like Hans. I don't know why it's showing me that, but so we're gonna talk to Rolled, and it's gonna show me the same Hans dialogue. I'm not exactly certain why. I might not have adjusted that properly. Um, let's see. Go into Rolled. We're gonna go down here. It did it set the S01. All right, 01. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not exactly certain why that's not doing that. Maybe because maybe I'm gonna actually have to duplicate Hans over here, and give him a completely different name. Just call him Old. We're gonna create him, and then we're gonna go into Rolled, and we're gonna look for where Hans is referenced, and that's gonna be there. So let's uh let's hope that fixes the problem. I'd be embarrassed if it's not going to fix anything. Come on, port them all. I'm gonna go here, talk to him. There we go. So as you can see, it's going to have this little syntax here. That's basically telling us that we're gonna need to go ahead into hyspeech.lang, and because the folder or the file's called Hyspeech, you don't need to write Hyspeech to start with. So we're just gonna copy this here, go down to the bottom. We're gonna go like that, and we're gonna do S01, T there, and we're gonna do old. Save that. Then we go back, close that out, and it should say rolled. There we go. And for now we're gonna have to just assign we're gonna have to assign rolled uh to S01. Now this could change in the future. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna do that, but maybe when I do the begin dialogue action, I might move it to there. But I think it's really nice that I can have it like this, because then you'll be able to change the NPC that you're talking to if you're, let's say, having a multi-conversation dialogue with a nearby NPC as well. So I think I'm gonna keep it like that for now. I am open for feedback. And so if I press next, it's actually going to close the dialogue. And the reason why it did that is because if we go back to the dialogue here, to the editor, uh, in this entry here, the next is empty. Oh well, technically the real reason why is because next here for test02, this ID doesn't exist yet. So if I right click this and duplicate it, and let's go test02. We're gonna create that, and I'm gonna give it a choice to. Um, and so what that's gonna do, it should actually update automatically. If I go next, okay, no, there's an issue. Oh, I see now. And the issue is that here I have a choice to, but I'm actually going to need two entries, and they have to be filled within. So, hello world, that you're going to be replaced with something else. I'm going to say, hi, how are you? And this one, I'm going to say goodbye. All right. So it should have updated. There we go. And so now it has these here. But as you can see, Hyspeech.dialog.test02.name. And I'm gonna definitely need to update that to lowercase. I'll do that soon. And so what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna put that in. We're gonna go up, not that file, or that. We're gonna go in here. We're gonna go dialog s02.name is rolled. But the thing is, this is a choice dialog. Typically, you don't want to use rolled's name in a choice dialog. You're going to want to use the player's name. And so, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go back in and I'm going to do curly brackets and I'm going to do username. I save that, go back to Hytale, close that out, and then talk to him again. And then there we go. We have our name. So because in here goodbye is set to net, the next is not set, and then also here next is not set. But if I go ahead and do test03, and because this is no longer a uh, normal dialogue. We're gonna go ahead and clear that. Press the X to make sure that's cleared. And we're gonna go ahead and put test03 in this option here. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy, let's go ahead and copy test01. We're gonna duplicate that. We're gonna do test03, that there. And we're gonna clear that one because it's going to be the last dialogue. And we're gonna be saying, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. There we go. And because next is actually set to nothing, and next is set to nothing here, there's not going to be any next dialogue. Uh, when you're talking with a normal dialogue, you use this next variable here that's not inside the entries. And if you're using a choice dialogue, you're going to want to use the next entry, the next variable inside the entry. And then if we go back and we go like this, talk to him. Hi, how are you? It gives you the response, and like I said, it does say hyspeech.dialog.test03.name. So if I go back, like I said before, we go here. We're gonna copy test01 because it's technically gonna be for rolled. We're gonna say rolled. I don't know why I decided to change. And then we're gonna save that. Another thing, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into test. Let's go test01. And then we're gonna say we're gonna go here. We're gonna write Hyspeech. Uh-oh. Dot dialogue. Got a wire on my keyboard. Microphone. And we're gonna do, I prefer to keep it the same as the ID of the current dialogue, so I would test 01. It doesn't necessarily have to be this, but it's going to need to start with Hyspeech so that it knows that it gets the dialogue translation um, from the Hyspeech file. And then I'm going to do .content. And then what that's going to allow us to do, if we go back in here, it's actually going to just do that, right? It's just going to say that content. But the reason why it doesn't translate to anything is because if I go here, also that's another issue there. That's gonna be test01.content. It's actually going to be a different. So let's go like that. We're gonna do a speech though. I prefer to do it like this because it keeps it consistent. And then we're gonna do test01. Then we're gonna go back into here. And we're gonna go down here. We're gonna take the Hyspeech part out. We're gonna do space equals space, and then whatever it's supposed to say is hello world. And so what that's gonna do is when we go in here, it should oh something didn't work. Is it the comma? I don't think it's the comma. Oh, because these are multiple, because this is already said twice. I forgot I need to do test 01, and I saved that there as gonna fix it and hello world. Now I'm not exactly certain how the other languages work, but in a technicality, it does still support localization. So I believe that if you did something like in here, if you would have made a folder called, um, I'm not exactly certain how it works. Maybe it's en-ru. I'm not exactly certain, and um, that would probably translate to Russian, and you would have a Hyspeech.lang file there as well. But yeah, for now, that is basically Hyspeech. I am sorry that I've had a lot of tongue twisters. I'm not very good at this. I should probably just stick with programming and making fun projects and stuff for people to use. And one thing I want to say is that currently there is a few features that should be in Hyspeech that I currently don't have. One of those features that I really want to introduce next is going to be post dialogue actions or interactions for that matter, and possibly also AI expressions. And I don't mean the AI as in ChatGPT. What I mean by expressions is, let's say you say something that the NPC doesn't really like, then they might be like, oh, that's kind of disgusting, and they might frown on their face. That would be really cool to have. Either way, I wanted to say thank you for uh, dealing with me and watching my video, and I sure hope that Hyspeech actually benefits you and your servers very much. Have a blessed day.